Okay, so today we're going to be making Collagraph stamps out of foam. So basically what happens is you have a piece of chipboard, you cut out your foam shape and glue it to the chipboard so whatever is foam gets inked up and printed like a stamp. So I'm giving you a scrap paper that's the same size as the foam so that you know exactly how big you need to make it. So when you're drawing up your design on here, try to fill up the page. And then if you get it perfect on here and you just want to transfer it, you can take a ballpoint pen, place it right on top, and then just like really hard trace over your design, and it'll kind of like press it into here. But I just went ahead and freehanded it onto the foam just because my design wasn't like super complicated. But if it is super complicated, just ballpoint pen, trace really hard, and it will engrave onto here. Okay, so I need to cut out my pieces. I'm going to use scissors because really scissors are way easier to cut through foam. You might need a knife for some parts, but like in the middle pieces, like I'm going to probably need a knife to cut out that little bit right there. But for just like cutting edges, the scissors are going to be way easier. So these are kind of going to be like puzzle pieces. So where I have lines, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut on those lines all the way around. Okay, if I have like inside of this little guy a line drawn here, it's not going to show up unless I cut it out. So to cut out on the inside of a shape, you will need X-Acto knives. So just make sure that when you're cutting, you're not cutting toward your hand. And you are turning the blade to face the direction that you're cutting in. So if I'm cutting down, I'm turning my blade, or turning this little guy. Pop out. Yeah, it's much harder to cut with the X-Acto knife than it is the scissors. So whenever I can use the scissors, I start there. All right, so now this guy's just gonna print like a solid piece like that. So if I want that line to show up, then I need to cut it out. So just cutting one line won't work. I have to cut on either side of it. And then pop that little baby out like that. So when it prints, it'll look something like that. Okay, I'm gonna keep cutting. Okay, I have all my pieces cut out. I cut on the line design. So if there was a line there, I cut through it. What's gonna happen when you make a stamp is your stamp creates a mirror image. So if it has to be in this direction, like if you have words or something that has to read this direction, you have to flip, you have to reverse it. So I'm just going to go ahead and reverse this. It really doesn't matter if this is backwards or not, but just so you guys can see. I'm just going to load up this chipboard with glue. When this dries, it's not going to like really do anything to affect my print, but it's going to make it easier for me to like slide my pieces around. So I'm going to start with my little frame guide. I'm using this guy right here as a guide of where to put things, but remember, I'm flipping it. All right, so This goes here. And what I want to do is I want to give a little bit of space. Speaking of, I'm going to trim it just a smidge. When I give a little space, see now how I have some empty areas between my two pieces of foam? That is going to read as a line. So like, for example, if I just put this right up next to it, it would look like a solid piece. But if I give it a little space, like this, tiny space.
It's going to read as a line. So this hour fit perfectly in there. Then we have more tiny space. I forgot this little leg back here. Come out super fast. And once again, give them a tiny little space. So that would be the line. Tiny space here. Oop. Flip this guy over. Is that guy? Yeah. Open this one. And this guy. Ooh, get onto this little bit. Flip him. Where the heck did that guy fit? Yes, here. Wherever. Like that. Okay. So just having those tiny little spaces between the object is going to create negative space.
Which is empty space, and it will, when it prints, these are all going to be solid, so that empty space will kind of, your eye will read it as an empty line. Now we just need to wait for this to dry. That will take forever.